A status conference has been set in the Southern District of Illinois in the challenge against Illinois' gun and magazine ban. Welcome back, Bishop on Air, each and every weekday morning hanging out with you, and you can join me live, or you can check out the segments later on throughout the day. Either way, just be sure to search Bishop on Air, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I also believe I got the website back up, bishoponair.com, so if you want to find out more about me, find the store. You can even check out all the different social media links there as well. But let's go ahead and get on into this. Of course, we've been tracking what's going on with the gun and magazine ban here in the state of Illinois. No update yet on the number of FOID card holders who have registered banned guns. Of course, the registration kicked in on October 1st, and the deadline to register was December 31st. And 29,357 people filed registration affidavits saying that they own a banned item. And the latest numbers, just refreshed this page this morning. Who knows if it gets updated? Well, they won't. I don't think it'll be updated today because today is a state holiday. So will Illinois State Police, at least the person inputting those numbers, be inputting those numbers? Regardless, you have the latest here. Only up to the 31st of January with an additional 6,200 people registering firearms. But of course, the law is being challenged in federal court. And we've had the preliminary actions go all the way up to the 7th Circuit, and even some asking for the U.S. Supreme Court to intervene, still expecting some of that to happen again with some of these cases. But at least in the Southern District of Illinois Federal Court, they are moving forward with the merits. So no longer are they looking at preliminary injunctions or preliminary, initial steps. They're actually looking to get to the meat and potatoes of the challenge against the state's gun and magazine ban that's been in effect for over a year and has been challenged in state and federal court. So the latest docket entry that they have here on the Southern District of Illinois page is status scheduling conference set for February 28th. So February 28th, 1 p.m., East St. Louis Courthouse. Judge Stephen McGlynn, in accordance with the Court of Order, February 2nd, the following attorneys will be selected by various plaintiffs to appear on behalf of the conference, and it lists the various plaintiffs. One for the FFL plaintiffs, one for the Langley plaintiffs, one for the Barnett plaintiffs, and one for the Harrell plaintiffs. Any attorneys for the defendants are welcome to attend the conference. So the conference really is going to be a focus on asking the questions of what kind of witnesses are we going to have, what kind of evidence are you going to be looking for. So we'll be putting this on our calendar February 28th, and we will either tune in virtually and tweet out what happens, or I'll go down to East St. Louis on the 28th and actually be in the courtroom. I just got to find out what the access is going to be for media. So that's the latest when it comes to the case against the state's gun and magazine ban, a scheduling conference with the plaintiff's attorneys for February 28th. So later on this month, we'll see things advance even more. But listen, there's a lot of other things going on when it comes to the Second Amendment, and especially after last night with the Super Bowl. And let's go ahead and pull this up from Gun Owners of America. They have this post that they made on X about, sports leagues. Says, tuning into the Super Bowl, don't forget how pro sports leagues sent a letter to Congress in support of gun control. They say the Undetachable Firearms Act has helped keep people safe. How can that be true when 0 people have ever been prosecuted under the law? Instead of lobbying Congress for gun control that helps nobody, they say, professional sports leagues should stick to what they're good at, entertainment. You can see here just a kind of a pull quote page from all the sports leagues owners saying that we write to express our strong support for reauthorization of the Undetectable Firearms Act. The UFA has helped keep Americans safe in public places, to utilize metal detectors to prevent the admittance of firearms, and it goes on with other various points that the major sports leagues wanted to make in that letter they sent. And this was something that was sent earlier this year on January 18th. And you can see it's from the NFL, it's from the NHL, Major League Baseball. It's also from NASCAR, the NCAA. the NBA as well. So a lot of people pointing to that, saying, hey, these sports companies don't necessarily have your Second Amendment interests in mind. So interesting to see that. But you've also got a whole host of other action and when it comes to the Second Amendment. The pro sports leagues having their say, but former President Donald Trump was at the National Rifle Association this past weekend, and here's some of what he had to say.
For 4 incredible years, it was my honor to be the best friend gun owners have ever had in the White House by far. Now I stand before you with a very simple promise. Your Second Amendment will always be safe with me as your president.
So Trump went on to talk about the Second Amendment and the difference he has with President Joe Biden when it comes to the Second Amendment, despite, former President Trump being involved in, the bump stock ban, which is being litigated and something that we could see some kind of outcome about down the line here. But the former president chiming in on the difference between he and the incumbent president, Joe Biden.
My administration also petitioned the Supreme Court to overturn New York City's unconstitutional ban on transporting handguns outside of the home. You have people walking on the streets with handguns that want to do bad things, and you had to keep your handgun at home. And to people that don't understand the industry and the gun world, they might think that sounds tough. It's not tough. It's really a survival. It's really is. We have 700 million guns out there, and not all of them are had by very innocent people. And in a landmark case 2 years ago, the court affirmed that the right to self-defense does not end when you step outside the front door of your house. That was all things that we got together. But under crooked Joe Biden, your Second Amendment is again under siege. You know that.
So the former president making his speech to the NRA, laying out why he believes that he is better on the Second Amendment than President Joe Biden. And President Joe Biden actually recently posted to X and other social media platforms. He says that he signed the most significant gun safety law in decades. And he says that I will not stop until once again there's a ban on assault weapons, he says. Now, again, the term assault weapon obviously is contentious. There's ongoing questions about, the assault weapon ban in Illinois with the litigation against it. You've got other areas that are looking to do just what Illinois did, if not more. So let's take a look at some of these other headlines from X. When it comes to other litigation against gun control, you've got the Firearms Policy Council saying that Nebraska's largest city won't be able to enforce its ban on guns on all public property, including parks and sidewalks, while a lawsuit challenging the restrictions moves forward. So again, that's in Nebraska. The other headlines, you've got the U.S. Supreme Court being asked to end Maryland's assault weapons ban. This being posted by the Second Amendment Foundation. So Reuters reporting that the U.S. Supreme Court being asked to end Maryland's assault weapons ban. So we'll see what kind of updates we get out of there. But while that's happening in courts, you've got Minnesota, their gun rights group looking to highlight HF 3570. They say it's a sloppy attempt to criminalize peaceable gun owners. What this legislation would ultimately do is would criminalize any gun owner in Minnesota who complied with the new universal background check, which also went into effect on that date. So you could see that they've got this measure here. It would essentially mean that certain types of, quote, military-style assault weapons are prohibited. The prohibition, unlawful for a person to transfer a semi-automatic military-style assault weapon. So some of the language here, similar to what we saw in Illinois with the gun and magazine ban from a year ago. But you've also got Mark Smith from Four Boxes Diner as well, highlighting a federal court reinstating a Second Amendment lawsuit, Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit, reversing a court decision dismissing the Second Amendment's challenge to a law banning public carry for 18 to 20-year-olds. So you've got all of these different issues, right? What kinds of firearms people can have, what age they can have them, or where they can carry them. So clearly there are ongoing cases where you've got challenges across the country on where people can carry firearms, including a judge upholding a lawsuit challenging Flint, Michigan's, quote, sneaky city hall carry ban. So bearing arms highlighting that story as well. But again, as you see these challenges play out, you've got others that are still moving forward with various types of gun control legislation. In Hawaii, their gun rights group, the Hawaii Firearms Coalition, they said that the Hawaiian state legislature considering a bill that significantly expands the existing assault weapons ban, including stricter regulations on assault rifles, shotguns, and high-capacity magazines. They're seeking testimony to oppose this bill, and you could see more about some of that here, especially when it comes to like exemptions for law enforcement, allows for law enforcement to possess these prohibited firearms. You've got others who are looking at different types of aspects of this bill in Hawaii. It proposes to amend the definition of prohibited assault weapons to include assault rifles, assault shotguns, 50 caliber rifles. So clearly something in Hawaii similar to what we saw in Illinois when it comes to gun and magazine bans. You've also got New Mexico, their Shooting Sports Association, with this post on X. The New Mexico Senate Democrats just rejected an amendment that would exempt a victim of domestic violence from having to wait 7 days to receive a firearm because it might result in the homicide of a perpetrator of domestic violence. So they're highlighting some of the action in New Mexico. Also, you've got just a variety of other things. But again, some people want to be able to carry firearms so that they can protect themselves. We've got several different stories here just to highlight this morning about where we've seen the self-defense as an important aspect of saving lives, not just, an individual's life, but multiple individuals' lives. So over the weekend, there was a shooting outside of a mega church in Texas. A female shooter in this case, which is kind of odd. Typically, it's a male suspect, but a female shooter has been killed, and they were shot by two off-duty police officers there as protection at Joel Osteen's megachurch. A 5-year-old child in police reports. This is fascinating. The woman brought in, she was wearing a trench coat, had a backpack, had a long rifle, had a 5-year-old with her. Started shooting, was then shot and killed by a couple of off-duty police officers, according to the reports. 5-year-old that she was with was somehow injured, and somebody else, an older man, was injured as well. But apparently she had sprayed some stuff on the carpet beforehand. So there were questions about whether or not hazardous materials were there. But regardless, you've got somebody who obviously knew how to use firearms, taking out a criminal suspect with evil intent. But here's another story, and I think this one also is important to highlight. A 15-year-old says that they thwarted a school shooting, and this is a fascinating story that is being shared around social media. And you've got 15-year-old student's courageous act thwarts planned school shooting. This was from late last week in Ohio. So pretty interesting to see that type of story pop up when it comes to, ensuring that you have kids understand, see something, say something. Too often we've seen where you've got police being informed, FBI having somebody on the radar, but they don't necessarily take the proper steps to take that person and either preemptively, stop something. But in this case, it was a young kid who had heard some things and decided to notify adults, which they then acted. And a suspect and an adult from a different state is being held in that particular case. But other self-defense stories here this morning. You've got in Alaska, a homeowner awoke at 4 a.m. to someone violently attempting to gain entry. So he called police, and while police were on their way, the intruder successfully kicked in the door. So the homeowner fatally shot the intruder, and that was in Alaska. Another story here, you've got a mother shooting a knife-wielding intruder to defend her 3 children after he rammed the truck into a home. So some of these stories just highlighting why, listen, some people want to be able to protect themselves and their families, and that's why they look at the Second Amendment as a privilege, not something that is allowed to be infringed upon. All right, I mean, the Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary for the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So yeah, that's just some of the headlines here. But again, just to recap, the top headline, as we've been tracking gun and magazine ban litigation, you've got a scheduling conference that is set in the Southern District of Illinois with the plaintiff's attorneys going to get with Judge Stephen McGlynn on February 28th, 1 p.m., and they're going to be laying out some of the things they're looking for to try to get this case moving on the merits, challenging Illinois' gun and magazine ban. So just wanted to get out some of the latest here for you on this morning, on a Monday morning, back at it here with Bishop on Air. Always appreciate you guys being here, as always, and like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, all right? We'll take a little bit of a breather and continue forward with more Bishop on Air.